The revenge of Polydorus' ghost. The sea stretched endlessly before Hecuba, a vast and indifferent expanse, its waves rolling like murmurs of the dead. The once proud queen of Troy stood upon the foreign shores of Thrace, her bare feet sinking into the cold sand. The wind tugged at the tatters of her dress, once royal silk now little more than rags, and tangled in her unkempt hair. She had lost everything. Troy, her kingdom, burned to the ground. Priam, her husband, slaughtered like an animal at the altar of Zeus. Her children, Hector, Paris, Cassandra, gone. She had counted the dead, wept over their broken bodies, endured the cruelty of the Achaeans. Yet she had not wept for Polydorus, her youngest. She had sent him away before Troy's fall, entrusted him to King Polymestor of Thrace. He was but a boy, too young to fight, too young to die. He had been her last hope. And yet the gods had denied her even this. That night, as Hecuba lay on the cold ground with the other Trojan women, once noble, now slaves, sleep did not come easily. The whispers of the sea became voices, a murmuring chorus just beyond her hearing. The wind that slipped through the ruined camp carried something heavier than the salt of the ocean. Then she saw him. A boy no older than 12, stood in the shifting darkness. His golden curls, once bright as the morning sun, were dark with sea water. His small hands, delicate and regal, dripped with something darker. Blood. His royal garments clung to his frail frame, torn, heavy with the weight of the grave. Mother! Hecuba's breath caught. Her heart clenched in her chest like a vice. Polydorus. Her voice trembled as she reached for him. The boy did not move. His lips parted, but they did not smile. His eyes, once full of mischief and youth, were hollow. "You left me," he whispered. Hecuba recoiled, pain lancing through her like a dagger. No, I sent you away to keep you safe. Polymestor, he swore. He swore. Polydorus' voice turned bitter, warped by something beyond the grave. And then he betrayed me. For gold, mother. The gold my father gave him. He did not keep me safe. The boy lifted his hands. Water streamed from his fingers, mingling with the blood. He killed me, and threw me into the sea like a stone. Hecuba could not speak. The grief, the horror, the rage, gods, the rage, burned through her, hollowing her out from within. She fell to her knees, her fingers digging into the wet sand as if she could claw her way to him, to pull him back from the abyss. The wind howled, and Polydorus' form flickered like a dying flame. "Find me," he whispered. "Avenge me." Then he was gone. The dawn rose red as blood. Hecuba did not sleep. The Trojan women huddled around her as she sat, unmoving, staring at the horizon. They whispered, exchanged uneasy glances, but no one dared to disturb her. Until a woman approached, her face pale and drawn. "High Queen," the woman said hesitantly, kneeling beside her. "There is something we found on the shore." Hecuba turned her head slowly, her eyes sharper than they had been in years. "Show me." The woman hesitated, then gestured for her to follow. The others trailed behind, silent as shadows. The waves lapped at the sand, revealing and concealing what had washed ashore. And there, tangled in seaweed, a small, fragile hand reached toward the sky. The body was unrecognizable, bloated and ravaged by time in the water. But Hecuba knew. A mother always knows. A cry tore from her throat, primal and raw. She fell to her knees, cradling the ruined remains of her son in shaking arms. "Polydorus," she whispered, her voice like broken glass. The women watched, silent. They did not need to ask what had happened. The sea had returned the truth to them. Hecuba rose, her face streaked with grief and fury. "Fetch him." Polymestor came as a man unworried, as a man who believed himself safe. He entered the chamber where the Trojan women waited, his fine Thracian robes trailing behind him, his expression one of well-practiced sympathy. "My dear Queen Hecuba," he said, spreading his arms, "how you suffer. It pains me to see you so. Hecuba did not move. She stood in the center of the chamber, her back straight, her hands clasped before her. "You swore to protect him," she said, her voice steady. Polymestor blinked. "I did what was best for my people. The Greeks were not here when you slit his throat," she interrupted, her eyes cold. "Do not speak to me of the Greeks. Speak to me of my son. Where is he?" The Thracian king hesitated. A smile, thin, cruel, touched Hecuba's lips. "You need not answer," she murmured. "I already know." Polymestor turned, suddenly uneasy. He was not a fool. The way the Trojan women had closed in, silent, their eyes like wolves, he had walked into something far beyond his understanding. "What is this?" he demanded, stepping back. Hecuba stepped forward. "Justice." They struck. The Trojan women fell upon him like the storm itself, their hands clawing, tearing, shrieking with fury long withheld. Polymestor fought, but it was useless. Nails raked his flesh, fists shattered his teeth, and the last thing he saw was Hecuba's face, calm amidst the storm. Her hands found his eyes, and she plunged her fingers into them, blinding him in a flash of agony. He screamed, but the sound was lost beneath their howls. When it was done, he lay on the floor, writhing, blood pooling beneath him. Hecuba crouched beside him, tilting her head. "Now you will wander the world in darkness as my son wandered the sea. That is the will of the gods." Polymestor sobbed, his ruined face streaked with blood. "You wretched woman. The gods will curse you." Hecuba only smiled. "They already have." Days later they said Hecuba was gone. Some claimed she had fled to the sea, walking into the waves until the water swallowed her. Others said the gods took pity on her sorrow and turned her into a hound, so she might roam the land, forever searching, forever howling her grief to the wind. But the truth? The truth was that her vengeance was complete. And somewhere in the quiet corners of the underworld, Polydorus finally rested.